that the coal industry in recent months has become so contentious. People are moving away from coal. People have become opposed to coal. But you're in the business of coal. So tell me, why should the industry not be so opposed to coal?
Okay, Laura, if you look at what's happening in the world, so we need to look at first United States, because United States have put a lot of money, ExxonMobil especially since 1974, on fracking and trying to get gas from the rocks, so that they can commercialize it, and they did it. So they've got a huge amount of gas coming out of United States. Hence, they started moving away from coal. So the reason why the United States started moving from coal was not really they were moving it to renewables, but they were moving it to gas, which is actually more environmentally friendly. It's easy to handle it. Hence, what happened is it changed the whole pattern of producing power in Europe, because Europe was dependent on Russia. Now they started having this cheap gas coming from the United States, and then they started burning gas, and it worked very well for them because they got the capacity to burn gas, they got the capacity to burn coal, and they wanted to move away from coal for the known reasons, because of the carbon emissions. So U.S. gas actually changed the whole pattern in Europe. That's one thing. And then the other thing is, if you look at what's happening in terms of renewables, obviously it's adding a lot of power to power capacity to different parts of the world, and which is great. It's complementary to power generation, but the issue is it doesn't create the base load yet. Okay, so when it creates the base load, I think we will be dealing with fossil fuel emissions in a more strict way in the world, and that's a reality of the world. Like, we need to deal with the emissions. So. But still, if you look at what's happening in Asia, like China, Pakistan, India, Southeastern Asia, Asian countries, they still burn coal. They still invest in coal-fired power capacity. So coal is not going to immediately be disappearing. It's going to take some time. So coal has still got life, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to finish. So it's going to finish at some point. When we come to our situation in South Africa needs coal, because that's the base load that we have. We can't afford to put up a nuclear capacity because it's very expensive to put it up, and we got a power utility which is sitting with 450 billion rand debt. We need to help Eskom to come back, deal with their debt, in either they make power out of coal in a cheaper way by dealing with the coal price, by dealing with the corruption issues and all those kind of things, or the country has to come up with a different idea. We saw yesterday in the opening speech of the minister that DMRE is now allowing the mining companies to generate their own power. So which is an important decision, and it's a positive decision. It's good. That means that government is trying to understand how they can help to get this power issue. So if the mining companies get out of the system, at least during maybe day or when the wind blows, then the stress on Eskom is going to be less. So coal is contentious, we understand that, but the issue is South Africa doesn't have another base load. So until humanity finds a cheaper way to store the energy that's made out of wind and solar and all sorts of renewables, hydro, we have to carry on using a fossil fuel or nuclear power to deal with the base load demand.
So that's well and good, but the industry still feels that coal is a dirty commodity.
Right.
So we have to look at green technologies. We have to have a cleaner footprint in coal. Is that possible, and how does the industry get there?
So in terms of coal mining is as good as platinum mining or chrome mining or manganese mining. So the impacts of coal mining is noise, vibration, dust, and obviously use of diesel in terms of production. So these impacts are everywhere in mining. So coal miners have to deal with all these issues, part of their environmental authorization or part of their water use license. So then with all these emissions issue, obviously we become more careful. Like one of the initiatives that we did, for instance, in one of our subsidiaries, we joined Better Coal, which is a company, an NGO based in Holland. And what they do is they assess the companies, they evaluate the companies to see if they are compliant in terms of environmental commitments, in terms of social commitments. So in South Africa, we are the first company which joined and evaluated by them in 2015. So there are rules and regulations. They come and look at how you treat the environment, how you impact the environment, how you deal with the communities, how you deal with your workers. So this is a good initiative to check if you're doing the right things ourselves, to audit ourselves by a third party. And like I said earlier, what we do is we deal, for instance, vibration and noise. We deal with our blasting techniques to minimize the effects of vibration and noise and creating the dust. So when it comes to dust control on the roads, we apply different chemicals to make sure that the dust is minimized. In our coal washing plants, we put up systems in place to suppress the dust, so that we again minimize the dust coming out of treatment of coal. And one of the big things in open cast mining, especially the usage of fuel. So we look at how can we minimize using the fuel, which is a biggest emission factor. And we design our ramps, we design our load hole roads, we design our mines so that we use minimum fuel to make coal produced and processed. And one of the things actually we consider in certain mines in Australia and in North America, they use electric vehicles in the mining production. So we're looking at if it's feasible to do that. If for a mid-tier coal mining company, if it's doable to invest in electric vehicles. So there are ways of improving, and we are looking at all the options to see if we can implement to minimize our impact on environment and our impact on pollution.
Amazing. So Vuslat, if you were to consider yourself a leader in this area of green coal mining, do you think that you'll ever get to a point where you can be absolutely environmentally conscious as much as possible? I mean, how much more can we do?
I think there's room to improve 100%.
Okay.
We can. I mean, this electric vehicle thing is very important. I think we can use that in our mines more efficiently, because, like I said, our biggest impact is use of fuel. So people have got this in their minds, okay, coal is dirty. Actually, coal is not dirty. Coal creates pollution when it's burned.
Yeah.
So we need to deal with that. And I mean, to deal with that, we have to talk to Eskom. We have to see how we can help Eskom with the new technologies. But in different parts of the world, people are very conscious about these things, because we don't want to have an environment where it's polluted and we won't be able to sustain living in an environment like that. So there are ways of dealing with the SOx and NOx gases that's coming out of chimneys of coal-fired power stations, carbon capture, storage facilities. All those things you can implement in coal-fired power stations have to be discussed with Eskom to see if they can burn the coal in a different way. So actually, coal miners, and specifically in our case, we try our best to minimize our impact. But when it comes to burning coal, it's a different story. It's out of our control, and it has to be discussed with Eskom to see what Eskom is doing to deal with the gases that's coming out of their chimneys.
Absolutely understood. Vuslat, thanks for taking the time to talk about what is probably quite a contentious issue in mining at the moment. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Laura. Thanks a lot.
For more great insight videos, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.